All right, today we're tackling a seriously mind-bending idea from the psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan. And we're going to do it by looking at a literary giant through his eyes. This is a story about how art isn't just, a passion or a hobby, but something that can literally hold a person's entire reality together.
Okay, so we're going to start with the exact same provocative question Lacan himself asked. Was James Joyce mad? Now, hold on. This isn't about, diagnosing him from 100 years away. It's really about trying to get inside the unique wiring of a mind that could create something as huge and complicated as Ulysses.
So, to even begin to answer a question like that, we have to look at the man himself, James Joyce. But here's the thing. There's a big problem. How do you psychoanalyze someone who's not only, dead, but who wanted absolutely nothing to do with it in the first place?
Lacan had this perfect description for all the commentary swirling around Joyce. He called it an enormous blah blah. And what's so wild is, Joyce loved this. He seemed to want to create this puzzle, this big enigma, almost daring people to spend their entire lives poring over his notes, his letters, and what he called his scribbledy-hobble.
And yeah, to be clear, Joyce was not a fan of psychoanalysis. Not at all. In fact, he famously took a pretty clever literary jab at its two biggest names. He was clearly not interested in being put on the couch, which, makes what Lacan did here all the more audacious.
He called Freud and Jung Tweedledum and Tweedledee. That's a pretty clear dismissal, right? He had zero intention of ever being analyzed. And this is the crucial point for us. We can only get to him through his writing. The work itself has to be our window into the man. Okay, so this is where Lacan starts digging. The first major clue he uncovers in Joyce's life is something he calls a fundamental lack, like a hole right in the very fabric of his being.
Lacan really zeroes in on what he calls a profound paternal lack. Now, we need to be super clear here. In Lacanian theory, this isn't just about having a bad dad or a difficult relationship. This is a deep structural problem in the psyche itself, and it's one that could have absolutely devastating consequences.
So think about it this way. Normally, the father figure provides this symbolic anchor for a person's identity, right? He gives you a name, a place in the world, a connection to law and language. But Lacan says that for Joyce, this anchor was just missing. His father's resignation, as he calls it, left this huge void right where that essential structure was supposed to be.
So, to really get a handle on just how serious this lacking father problem is, we need to talk about Lacan's favorite tool for thinking about the mind, the Borromean knot. It's basically his map for how our reality holds together.
Just think of your psyche as these three interconnected rings. You've got the symbolic, that's the world of language, rules, and law. Then there's the imaginary, which is all about our self-image, our ego. And finally, you have the real, which is that raw, unknowable part of existence that words can't really get to.
And here's the genius of this model. The rings are linked in such a way that if you cut any one of them, the whole thing falls apart. All three rings just come undone. It's this beautiful illustration of just how delicately they all depend on each other. The whole structure is only stable when all three are holding together just right. So according to Lacan, Joyce's paternal lack, that missing anchor in the symbolic, it caused a slip in his knot. The symbolic ring just wasn't tied in properly, and that threatened to unravel his entire psychic structure. So what happens when the very knot that holds your reality together just falls apart? For most people, this would lead to what we call psychosis. But Joyce was different. He found his own unique solution.
All right, so how on earth did Joyce avoid a complete psychic collapse? Lacan's answer here is just ingenious. He suggests that Joyce didn't just survive the structural failure, he actively built something totally new to take its place. See, Joyce needed a way to repair that break. He had to supply a fix for this fundamental undoing. He literally needed to retie the knot that nature and his father had failed to secure for him.
And Lacan calls this solution the Sinthome. It's a fourth ring, one that Joyce basically wove out of his own art, that comes in and reties the other three. It provides the stability that his father couldn't, and this is key. It's not a symptom of an illness. It's a unique, creative act of self-preservation.
And this right here is the absolute core of Lacan's argument. Joyce's relentless ambition, his burning drive to make a name for himself, that was the Sinthome in action.
His art, his obsession with his own legacy, it became the glue that compensated for the father he never really had. It's what, quite literally, saved him.
Okay, so let's circle all the way back to our original question and deliver the final verdict in the case of James Joyce. Was he mad?
Well, ultimately, Lacan concludes that asking about madness was the wrong question all along. The real insight here isn't about pathology. In fact, he kind of suggests that for most of us, our three rings are probably a little bit messily tied together anyway. So the point isn't some simple binary of sick or healthy.
No, Joyce wasn't mad. He was a pure artificer, a man of know-how, an artist whose work functioned as a kind of life-sustaining device. His art was a personal solution that held his psyche together where it otherwise would have completely unraveled. You see, he didn't just write books. He built a new psychic structure for himself, word by word. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the Sinthome is that unique, creative thing that holds a person's world together when there's a fundamental lack, the thing that gives you your own consistency, what might that be for each of us? What's the fourth ring that ties your world together?